Today I'm going to show you 4 very popular features of PrintBoss. To speed this along, I'm not going to print from an accounting system. I'm actually going to use this little file over here to show you, how different things can happen within PrintBoss just to save time. So the first thing that we're going to look at is adding secure signatures to a PrintBoss form. And that starts with the bank record. I'm going to click on the Edit menu and choose Bank List. This is the bank I'm using today. I'm going to edit this bank and select the Signatures and Logos tab. On this tab, I can add signatures to my bank list. It can be a BMP or a SIG file. If you wanted to change the signature here, just click on this yellow folder. It takes you to the PrintBoss Logos folder, but you can navigate out from there if you wanted to select a different signature. You can also set limits to the signature. This is actually the bottom signature. It's set so it won't display the signature unless there's at least a penny on the check. The signature will stop displaying at $500. For my second signature, it also starts with a penny, and it would go away at anything over $1,000. Now, the check that I'm using today is $10,000, so I'm going to show you a different way how we can see how those signatures work. So I'm just going to close this window for a moment and go to my form file. So now I'm going to go to Edit Form Files. This is the form I'm using today, and this is the bank. So I'm just going to click on View and put in that penny that we talked about. So you can see the signatures at the bottom. These can be rearranged by double-clicking on a signature, clicking the Edit Bank button, going back to Signatures and Logos and change the properties of the signature. Just so you can see how the amount works, I'm going to change the amount at the top. So I mentioned that Pam Doe is up to $500, so you can see when I put $500 there, Pam is still there. If I add $500.01, Pam's signature disappears. Similarly, with the top signature, this one will work up to, I think I put it to $1,000. So if I use $1,000, let me extend that, sorry. You can see that Pam's signature is dropped off. Your signature is still there. If I go a penny over, then that signature disappears as well. Remember, you can change those limits on the bank record whenever you need to. The second thing you need to know about those signatures is that they are tied to USB keys. Now, I purposely gave each of these 2 signatures different codes. So if I remove a USB from my computer for one of those signatures and refresh this screen, you can see that it gives me an alert that that signature is no longer available to me. And if I try rereading the signature, then the bottom signature, that was the signature for Pam Doe, is no longer available. So those signatures will not print or display if that USB key is not inserted into your computer. That is part of the security, so not anyone can use those signatures, just those people who have those USB keys. You can also use a CD for the signatures, but the USB keys tend to be more popular. And I'm going to close this window at this point. I'm going to put my signature back in to my computer. And now we're going to look at printing a check. I just wanted you to see first how those signatures work since my check is so large. Typically, you'd be printing directly from Sage to PrintBoss. And PrintBoss has a printer driver at the front end. So once you print to the PrintBoss 50 printer driver, it would work like this. Once I copy this, it would populate PrintBoss. PrintBoss would process the copies that you have set up, and everything would happen automatically. I'm pausing all these windows so we can talk about each one. Now, first of all, this would normally be a printer, but I have my PrintBoss set to print to a PDF file, just so I'm not wasting paper in the next room. So I'm just going to cancel that window because that would have been my printed copy. Because this is a live check, we're also generating a positive pay file today, and we're going to talk about positive pay files next. So you notice this came up automatically and gives me the opportunity to save this file. So this is how the positive pay file works. Within the PrintBoss form, you can add copies to PrintBoss. I have 3 copies that I've added today. Those copies get set on the Multi-Parts and Printers tab. We do have sample positive pay files, and that's what I selected today. It's just a sample file, so you can see how it works. If you'd like to download a demonstration copy of PrintBoss from our website, you would have the exact same files. So we do have a sample positive pay file for a fixed width file, for a CSV file, for a log file, and then we also have an ACH file. But when this file processes, it can be saved at a specific path, and that's what I wanted to show you. In the Enterprise Edition, you can also increment it or save it by, whatever information you want, by year, by date. I'm going to open that positive pay file, and this is the one that we just now printed. You can tell by the time. When you open the file, you'll see all the information, and see, since we only have one check in this file, we only have one detail line for positive pay. So this was created automatically from that positive pay file based on the information that was on the check and printed from Sage. So you don't have to do anything manually. That file is created automatically at the location that you specify. The only manual step would be is if you need to upload it to the bank through their system. The Enterprise Edition also has FTP upload if that's something that your bank would use. So those are the checks, the normal things that we see. And I'm also going to show you what the check looks like. So if I go to File and Open Document Org File, you can see there on the front that I'm using check CAAP1. It's right there. I'm going to click on Browse and then View. And again, I mentioned that my signature was $10,500, so those signatures don't display. I can go back to the bank record and up those signatures so they will display, but I wanted you to see the check layout itself. Now I'm going to go back and adjust the bank record for that higher amount. So Edit Bank List. There is my bank. I'm going to edit the bank. Click on Signatures and Logos, and let's set this signature, and we'll do this one, this is higher, to $12,000. Once you make a change to the bank, the work file will not update. That's a security feature, so no one can change the check after it has been printed. So I'm going to print the check a second time, so we can see the signature on our check. I'm going to create a new positive pay file. And then we're going to look at the work file. The work file is always there for you, and you also have archiving options. I'll mention that briefly as soon as I show you the check. So there's that signature that I increased the amount on, and that is now printing on the check. The other line can be used for manual signature. So as you're thinking about signatures and what dollar limits you need, you don't have to have 2 signatures. You can just use one. You can also have a limit, so a physical signature is required over a certain dollar amount. Now, I mentioned the work file. One of the things about the work file is it tells you what has printed. I do have a total of 4 copies on this form. The first one is copy 0. That is a live check. The second one is a positive pay file. Notice that both of those items or both of those letters are capital letters. That indicates that they were successfully completed. The next two letters, the two that are S's, were intentionally skipped. So in the same PrintBoss form, you can have different copies with different conditions. In this case, this check form can also be used to process an EFT payment. And those second two copies are being used for ACH and email. I'm going to right-click and exit this form to show you where that is set up. So I'm clicking on multi-parts and printers again. This positive pay file is set to ACH, and then you can see the email is set. In the United States, ACH is a standard format, so the same format works for all banks. On rare occasions, a bank would want a header added to the ACH file. That is possible to be done, but normally it's not required. For the path here, I've added the same incremented value. The two # signs just simply increment the file number every time I print so I don't overwrite the previous file. For positive pay, if you do need to append to a file, you can do that. You cannot append to ACH files. Now that we have had a look at our positive pay and ACH files, we're going to go take a look at email, and then we'll print an EFT statement. Within PrintBoss, both Standard and Enterprise, there is an email feature. That email feature is under the Options menu, and Enterprise has more choices than the Standard Edition, and Enterprise, of course, is what I'm showing you today. One of the features of Enterprise is to send email through Outlook, and that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to uncheck this real quick to let you know that PrintBoss is also compatible with Gmail and with Office 365. And I do have both Outlook and Office 365, but I'm going to print directly to Outlook today. Other features of the email include adding perhaps a CC or BCC to PrintBoss. I'm going to take that off for a moment. Outlook will ignore default addresses, but it will allow a CC or BCC added to the email. The miscellaneous settings, you can choose to add that capital S that we saw earlier for email. That was generated here because there was no email for the live check. And you can choose to have the email always process or never pause or always pause. I'm going to have mine set to always pause right now so you can see what it looks like when it's processing. Otherwise, it goes by too quickly. And I have my email set to combine pages, which is another Enterprise feature. If there, and I only have one document today, but if I had multiple documents and there was an overflow, particularly with EFTs or invoices. So this works with invoices, other documents you might be printing. It's not just for EFTs. But if you have an overflow page, PrintBoss will combine the pages if it's the same email and the same document number, or if it's just the same email as the prior email address. One other feature that I want to point out about email is adding a PDF password onto the attachment. So when you email from PrintBoss, the document that you're processing gets attached to the email. And that way someone can see, for example, with an EFT, they see exactly what was being paid. With an invoice, you can email invoices, same with purchase orders. So it doesn't matter what the document is, as long as an email address is available, then you'll be able to print. For most of our Sage clients, the email address is added on the Crystal report. We also have a payee list. This payee list is used for ACH or EFTs. That's the same thing. And this is what I'm using for my email as well. So I did add my email address in my payee list. If this is going to be a full ACH, you can see all the values that are added. And I'll go back through ACH separately, but I was just showing you where my email address is for this test. So now that I've activated my payee list, I purposefully had it inactive earlier so I could print a live check. Now I'm going to print the EFT with the email. So I'm going to copy my little file over here again. This time my ACH file comes up, and there's my email. This little file drop warning is a Windows 10 annoyance, so you can ignore that. But this is what I wanted you to see. With the email send window, it tells you who you're emailing, who it's from. It tells you, you can see the information that's going to be sent to the recipient and any attachments. You can actually add attachments at this point. It would be cumbersome to do so if you have a big batch, but I just wanted to stop this for a moment so you can see what it looks like. Typically, it would go right on through without connecting. And I changed my email address, so that's going to fail. Let me go back and change that. So I'm going to go back to my SMTP host and choose Outlook. There we go. So there's our next file. And then there is our email send for Outlook. And you can see it says successful emailed. If I had not paused this window, it would have processed and closed automatically. You wouldn't have to click on anything. Now, if I open my Outlook, I can see already that there's the attachment that I sent to myself. You can see who it's to. Whatever you enter in PrintBoss is going to be the message body and closing available. And then there's the attachment. And it opens as a PDF file. I didn't have to do anything special to remove the micker from this. Any of you wouldn't have a micker anyway, but PrintBoss would have removed the micker automatically, whereas it was on the check automatically. And it's indicating that this is a copy, so no one would be able to take this to the bank. It's clearly not a check. It's just set up as a statement. And we're going to go back and look at our ACH file. Those are my signatures. Give me a moment to get back to my ACH. That's the most current one that we printed. And we just had, again, just one payment. This was a balanced record, but you can see that PrintBoss creates the file for the ACH. Again, that can be uploaded to the bank. I'm going to go back and talk about the payee list for a moment. The payee list is what allows the ACH to work. And again, my information is just a compilation of things that I've made up, basically. For every recipient that you would be using for ACH, you do need to have an entry in the payee list. This information can be exported out of PrintBoss and entered into a CSV file. If you only have a handful of ACH recipients, you can enter them in the payee list directly. But it's just a matter of making this file active, matching on the payee name or ID, and then of course the bottom section is the information, and this is of course fictitious, the information that would be used in the ACH file for payment. So the bank ID or routing number and account number would be entered there, the fact that it's checking or savings, and then the individuals or company name and ID are on here as well. If this entry is not active, then this file would be ignored, and nothing would be processed for that individual. So going back to our work file again, if I click on File and choose Open Document Work Files, and there's our CAP1 form and Browse. The last time we looked at this file, we had processed a live check. So we had a capital P because something printed, and we had a capital O because the positive pay file processed correctly. This time, because we were using it to process an ACH file, the capital O for positive pay, or in this case ACH, is now on the third copy, or technically the second copy. We call it the second copy because it starts with 0. And it shows that it's successfully emailed. So that capital E is there to tell us what was processed. If I right-click and choose Edit, it will also tell me the exact time that that copy was processed for email. Just if you have any questions about when it went out, you can right-click and the status log will show you when that was mailed and to who.